guys? It's your boy GTG, man. I'm excited. I'm excited because this is the first step into what I want to do. And the vision is always to leave a time capsule for the future generations. I got to give it to MTV Cuts, man. Matthew the Barber. When you talk about pioneers, when you talk about the evolution of cutting hair, man, in the Lower and the Hillsborough area, you can't talk about that unless you bring up Travis, Matthew, Jofer, some of the goats, man, some of the people, the pioneers. Really, if it wasn't for them, I mean, who knows if a Lower or Hillsborough would have had a legit barbershop, because I think there's a big difference. And I think that's a topic I'm going to talk about with other fellow barbers, but there's a big difference between a salon setting and an actual barbershop. The environment is different. And I think that the culture is different as well. Not knocking anything off, salon owners, like, no, everybody's in this lane. But I think that to talk about really the barber culture, having a barbershop legit, the ambience is different. Like it's just 100% difference. But anyways, a little background story about Matthew and me. Matthew was the OG when I was like 15, 16. Him and Travis and Jofer were working at a shop called the Chop Shop. And if you didn't know, man, that shop was cracking. You know what I mean? It was just because it was the first of its kind. Oregon, I mean, Aloha and Beaverton, hadn't really seen something like that. When you wanted to get a lineup or a taper, it was either Laudas or you had to go to Portland, to Geneva's, Reggie's, and then a little later, Champions came in the game. You know what I mean? But that's really the only places you'd get a lineup or a taper, until Matthew and Travis, they got together and started this thing called the Chop Shop, which just exploded. And to be honest with you, without them, there would be no expansion the way we see it now. They were pioneers, like I said, once again. So, enough about chit-chatting about me. Matthew, I think it's your time to kind of just tell your story, man, and like, what really got you, what got you into cutting hair, first of all?
So I'm Matthew Hickox, also known as Matthew the Barber, MTB 503. We all had to have a barbering handle. That's what was cool back in the early 2000s. Anyways, yeah. And what made me want to start barbering, it's pretty simple. There was a guy, he actually owns Faded Up Barbershop. His name's David Esparza. David was a barber, and we met in an old Lifetime, right? And he was a barber, and he said, "Man, you need to invest in me, and we need to open a barber shop." And he made some decisions, and I made some decisions, and I started cutting hair. Before that, there was a kid named Sam, and his mom had a salon and he had a barber chair. And so he used to cut up all the homies in the early 2000s and give us lineups because, yeah, like Jacob said, the only places that were available was Geneva's, Terrell Brandon's. There was a dude, Pat from PDX Styles. Champions on MLK had started as a break off of Reggie's, big ups to Jamal Lang, a pioneer in the game. But there really wasn't west of Portland. There was nothing going on. And so we used to go to OG Bruce and get a 0A fade, and then we had no lineup. Yeah. And so Sam started doing lineups for all the youngsters and the cats that were coming up. And we used to do it on Friday nights before we went out. And I started cutting my kids' hair. And what's weird about this is at 13, 14 years old, years and years ago, when Vanilla Ice came out, we was taking kids' money and cutting their hair in the backyard, and their parents weren't very happy about it. And so I wouldn't say I was an aspiring barber then. I was kind of just a hustler and manipulator. But so barbering has always been part of what we did, always getting crisp, clean cuts, but we really didn't know that this is where it would go. So I ended up, in the county jail. And so we started doing haircuts for cats going to court, and those haircuts weren't good haircuts. So I don't know if it got them in more trouble or if it ended up helping them. But so we started in, I've experienced a lot and not knowing it was about barbering, right? And so I had connected with David. David made a decision to go a different direction. So we were supposed to get out of jail and go to barbering school. I got out and I went to school. And then from there, I got my license, and I tried to interview everywhere west of Portland, and no one would hire me.
Yeah.
We didn't have second chances like we have today, you know, and I had lived experience in a lot of different things. And Travis happened to be going to barber school, and me and Travis Henry, which was the original OG of the Chop Shop, we had known each other from the music business. We both produced music back in the day. And so Travis called me, and I'd been interviewing everywhere, and no one would hire Matthew to be a barber. And so I actually went, and Travis called me down to a little turquoise box on Main Street in Hillsboro. There was only a square room, about 300 square feet. And he said, "This is a barbershop." And I looked around and I thought, I don't see it, right? But I didn't have a vision then. I was just trying to, if there was a chair and somewhere to cut hair, I would have saw the vision. Anyways, that day, Travis he was supposed to get a job as a barber, and he signed a lease, and hence the Chop Shop started. We started April of, I believe it was 2011. And it went from there. And then we didn't really know how to barber. Travis was a little better than I was. I really was not a good barber. And then we had met Jofer. And Jofer was really the pioneer of barbering west of Portland. Jofer, you know, was the guy. He had worked at the Northeast Portland shops. He'd worked at all of them. He worked everywhere. He worked at multiple barbershops with ethnicity, and he knew how to cut all types of hair. He could do designs. Yeah. And he was really the pioneer west of Portland as far as any barbering movement went.
Yeah.
And so when he came on at the Chop Shop, I remember him and Travis sitting me down one time, and I was messing up haircuts. You know, I wasn't confident, and I really wasn't focused on barbering. And Jofer said to me, he said, "Man, you got potential, but you really got to take this shit seriously if you want to be a barber."
Joe's like that too.
And so he hit me straight across. He said, "If you really want to be a barber." And so, I took it seriously. And so he started showing me some techniques on how to do a taper, what to stay away from, some quick, easy ways to make my cuts more consistent and gain speed. And I still really wasn't confident in barbering. I didn't know if it was really what I wanted to do, but I really started to pour love into the art and the craft. I started going to classes. We all started going to classes. All of us started going. Within 9 months, the Chop Shop expanded from 3 barbers, and then Travis's wife, Tiara, being a stylist at the Chop Shop, we went to a new location, and we went to having 6 barbers and 4 or 5 stylists. And then we outgrew that, and the stylists got their own salon, and then the barbers took over. And there was 11 barbers west of Portland, and we were the largest urban barbershop west of Portland, the first of its kind to really pioneer, like Jacob said, that movement. And all those barbers, over 25 to 30 barbers that all worked with us, minus the ones, rest in peace, that are no longer with us. We want to pay respect to those that aren't with us. But out of every one of those other barbers that worked with us, all of them are successful to this day in the barbering industry, whether they're shop owners, whether they're salon suite owners, whether they built their own studios, every single one of them is pioneered in their own way into the game. So that movement of energy that Travis and Jofer and me, and not only that, Jacob became one that came on with us. You know, we all poured into each other and built each other up. But where I really knew barbering was it for me is that I'd started to create a little name for myself. Like I said, there wasn't the Instagram, it was Facebook, and there was some YouTube stuff going on. But we started to create like these alter identities, like we were superstars in the community with barbering. And I remember I became MTV, and everyone's like, "Yeah, MTV." And I couldn't just be Matthew, right? I really just wanted to be Matthew, but I had been so many different people that I've created, I'm Matthew the barber. And so I remember I didn't really believe in myself, and everyone else was hyping me up, and I was starting to become someone. And I went to Home Depot, and I remember walking in, and I remember where I knew it became real for me, and the craft had started to pay off, and my service and the way I treated people started to pay off. Is this guy says, "Hey, aren't you MTV?" As I walked in, and I said, "Yeah, I'm Matthew the barber." And he said, "Man, I heard you're nice with those clippers." And it gets me emotional today, because I never really believed in it, like, as far as a career, right? It was just something I was doing so I wasn't on the street, so I wasn't participating in old behaviors, so I could keep myself safe, so I could believe in something. And in that moment, I knew that the clippers had brought me, divinely had brought me closer to a good energy, this good energy that was surrounding us, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it really started for me. And so that's how barbering started for me. That's about as clear as I could tell that story.
Yeah, man. Nah, man. I mean, honestly, as you're speaking, I just get so many flashbacks. I mean, honestly, one of the things I think that is really underrated in this industry, because of social media, the way it portrays yourself, right? Like, obviously, I'm not knocking it. Obviously, I use it too, you know what I mean? Like, enhancements, like, to a starting barber, you probably think, oh man, I have to be so good. You know what I mean? I have to be like, my fades need to be flawless. But what they don't put out is that a lot of the stuff that we enhance, obviously, we try to do the best job we can, but it is enhanced. It's not how it looks naturally. I remember, when enhancements first started coming out, I remember Matthew, you were, at the chop shop, we were like, look, I'm giving you a haircut, and the haircut I'm going to give you is going to last you for 2-3 weeks, and you don't got to worry about nothing, and, it's just, you evolve, but one of the things that you can never forget, I think, about this industry, it's really heart over talent every day, because one of the things I can say about Matthew that I adapted later on in my career is when the chop shop hadn't even been open, Matthew was there, literally grinding. I remember you went from a 5-day schedule to a 3-day schedule, working 12 hours a day. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I looked at it, I was like, whoa, that's crazy. 12 hours. Like, and he stayed consistent, and he would always be busy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He would always be busy. And I think that's one of the things I think that, I really want to leave staple. It doesn't matter how good you think you are. You just got to have the love for the game. Literally have the love for the game and always try your hardest. I think as a new barber, just literally love what you do, love it. Everything about it, the slow days, the busy days,
So yeah, that's something that, like, I started 4 days with Travis. I went to 5 days. And then for 2 years, I worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. And then I ended up trimming my schedule back because I was able to build enough clientele. And one of the pioneers that doesn't get talked about enough with the appointment part of this side of it, because see, now everything's on appointments and scheduled, and we get organization, and we have other tools to make our time worth more money. So we're not wasting time. Yeah. We were a walk-in shop on Fridays. There'd be a 2.5 to 3 hour wait. Yeah. And how the OGs did it was we'd walk up and cross the newer barber's name off and write Matthew the Barber on there. And we would just take them in line. And then how I became a good barber wasn't because I was the best barber. I was the second best barber. So I used to tell people that when your barber ain't available, or he calls out, or he's sick, Matthew's going to be here. Yeah. And so I got more clients off of the availability than I did off of my haircuts at first, right? Which then gave me more repetitions. And so there were those slow days. I remember there's some simple changes I had to do for the newer barbers. This is something key, is like, I smoked cigarettes, I chewed, I drank rock stars, I ate all the time, I did all this. And so when we was in the little location, I used to be out smoking Newports, and my clients would walk past me and go get a cut from Joe or Travis while I was out smoking. And I had to look at myself. So I quit smoking, right? I quit smoking cigarettes because that wasn't of service to my clients. I wasn't available. So there's all these little things that we have to adapt and learn. And so the biggest thing for me is that consistency. You know what I'm saying? Consistency. And that's one thing I can say about Jacob and Yuri, is that the days that I remember of history that I still talk about to this day, they always ask me, do you miss it? Do you miss it? I miss standing there with Jacob and Yuri, and we would be the first one in the shop and we'd be the last ones to leave. There was many nights at 10, 11 o'clock that we'd look over at each other, and we're still putting the clippers in there. I mean, we broke records that we never even knew we could do together. And Yuri was the first pioneer to go to the appointment side of the game. So big ups to Yuri the barber. Yuri was the first one that went to transition to appointments. And I remember him telling me he was going to go to appointments, and we had a rule where we was a walk-in shop only. So once you go to appointments at the shop we was at, that means you don't get to take walk-ins no more. Now, if somebody wasn't available and we were that slammed, we were always trying to grab somebody. But the reality is we come from it was either one way or the other. You didn't get all this slack where you could do appointments and take walk-ins. It was all very independent, right? Yeah, and it was very, we were sharks, and we was trying to eat out there, and haircuts were $10 to $12, $14, $15. So we had to really grind in order to live our lives, right? So Yuri went to appointments, and he told me, he said, man, this shit's working out. And I remember looking at him going, man, you crazy. I was in fear. I was locked and loaded.
Yeah.
And I remember going to appointments the first week. And so what happened is for the newer barbers, when you're not booked out and you're slow, you always have something to do in barbering, whether it's sharpening your tools, social media, passing out business cards. I'm still a firm believer of the soft pass off. A referral and a welcome is much easier than the internet or somebody who you don't know and the awkwardness.
Yeah.
Right. So when I got referrals, you know, and I started off of cutting kids. So the dads and the uncles and the grandparents wouldn't let me cut their kids, but the moms would bring their kids in.
Yeah.
And then I would ice out the little kid. And then guess what? Dad's trying to book an appointment.
Yeah.
So now you get 2 clients off of one kid. So a lot of new barbers, they don't want to cut kids.
Yeah.
They're frustrated. And my biggest thing is long hair, short hair, any hair, no matter if it challenges you, no matter if you're good at it or not, take advantage of any opportunity and see it as a learning opportunity for you.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. And it's crazy. It's like, obviously we have, you know, I had guidelines that I text Matthew, hey, I don't want to talk about this, but like the conversation is flowing so good that like it's backing off of each other and talking about opportunity. I got to tell the story. I just cannot not tell the story. There's no way. I don't know how you did it, Matt. I do not know how. I don't know the backstory. All I know is one day I'm at the shop, I'm with Yuri. And I see Yuri, bro. He's like, he's not panicking, but he's making sure his station is nice and tidy. He always did that, though. It's not that he did that one time, right? But this time he was taking his time. He got me to do my station nice and tidy, too. I was like, oh, what's going on? Stay here or what? And he's like, no, bro, guess who's coming to the shop? And I was like, who? And he's like, bro, Matthew's, I don't know. He said Matthew's client knows Floyd Mayweather's barber, iced out. And then she ended up coming to the shop, remember? Mm-hmm. Man, she started giving everybody a lecture. Like literally, I remember I was sitting next to Yuri and she goes, look, young man, I really like your station. It's nice and clean. That speaks a lot about you. You know what I mean? So like she would be keen to that. But all I remember, man, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm tripping. But all I remember is she went station to station and then she went up to you. And then I just remember, man, that you could just feel the energy was shifting. And I don't know what trigger she pulled on you. But one thing about Matt is cool. He's the coolest cat you'll meet, bro. He's filled with wisdom. Like literally, bro, if you hear him speak, he'll never tell you something. He doesn't waste his time speaking. And I just see Matt started getting red and I'm like, what's going on? You know what I mean? And all I remember is that voices started getting raised and she said something. She's like, no, you don't want to do it. And then Matthew took that and was like, nah, you're tripping. I do want to do it. I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? But I think after that conversation, like I remember you being at the shop not too long and then you opened up your shop. So yeah. I'm curious to how that conversation went about. You know, I always wanted to ask you, man.
So my best friend's dad owns the building. So big ups to Iced Out Barber, Jackie Starr. A lot of people don't know the backstory of that. So I got a phone call and so this he's my friend too, but he's my friend's stepdad, and he was always telling me, oh, I'm friends with Floyd Mayweather's barber, and I'm like, this dude's like hella square bear from Delaware. I'm like, there's no way he knows these cats. So I'm thinking he's just pulling something. Yeah. So anyways, Jackie comes into town, they're having dinner, and he drives her out. He literally just turns and says, we're going to go see my friend Matthew. And so they show up, and then what she does is she goes to barbershops all over and she pours into barbers. She pours love into the community. But what Jacob was talking about when I started turning red and getting frustrated and we was going back and forth is Jackie, Iced Out Barber was challenging me. She was pushing me because I was afraid to go to the next level. And she was saying, why not? And I was arguing with her because I can't do this and I don't know. And she's like, but you do. And she was saying, and so I was getting, whenever I get backed into a corner, I get frustrated because she was challenging me to step up and go to the next level because she said, you're ready. You're ready for this. And she poured into me. And so big ups to Iced Out Barber. I've definitely always from the beginning, it started with Joe for Travis believing in me. And then it went on, to people like, Iced Out. And then there's a couple other people, my boy Roman Gratteri. There's Jesse Udom, who's a commercial real estate. He would constantly bring in buildings and show me and be like, when are you taking this building? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do this? And I was just constantly shell shocked in fear. And so how it all went down is we were looking to expand the chop shop. Travis. So that's another thing that any new barber is that I stood there after I built that shop by myself for months, 6 a.m, 7 at night. People saw the lights on, they saw me, and they're working. And through that dedication, it created energy. And through that energy of goodwill, and then through the community, they started to support me. And then other barbers started wanting to come. And, you know, some of them came, some of them liked it, some of them went different directions, some of them were independent. But again, all of those people that we've worked with in these circles, they're all successful in their own right. And it's not by my will, it's through their hard work and their consistency that they were able to build a life through barbering and the craft, right?
Yeah.
So I got the phone call 2018. I was still working at the chop shop, and we went and looked at the space. My wife said, I can see the vision. It was kind of hard to tell because it was a big open space and it hadn't been sectioned off yet. But I said, we put up a wall here and we have this entry, and so I actually worked full time from September until November. And I built every night, me and my dad and my kids and my wife, we built that shop with our blood, sweat, and tears.
That's crazy.
I took all the cash I had. So this is not a good look. Pay your taxes. I took all the cash I had. I rolled every dice because I needed a shot, right? And they say with no risk comes no reward. And so I took all the money that I had and I rolled it all in, man. And I did it. And I ended up getting hit for taxes for 15 grand the next year. So don't do that. Pay your taxes, be legit, keep it by the books, but take the risk. Okay.
Yeah.
And I built Empire Barbers off Highway 99 in Tigard, Oregon. And that was 6 years ago. January 1st was our grand opening.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. I mean, it just goes back to, right? Like, I think that when we get comfortable in life, sometimes it takes that person to challenge us and be like, fly. But what's crazy, Matt, what you don't really realize is, like, how many times have you been that for barbers in the industry? Mm-hmm. Like, I remember of you going to barbers and being like, bro, you need to get your license.
Yeah.
You got talent.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it just goes back to really when you love this craft, you do stuff for this craft, and the craft is going to do it back to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you get challenged to fly, and sometimes it's uncomfortable and sometimes you don't like it. But those are the moments, like Matthew said, you know, you got to risk it to get the biscuit. You know what I mean? You got to do it. So, you know what I mean?
And that's something for the newer barbers is education. You're never too old to stop learning. I still go to education classes. I still challenge myself every day. I never thought that I arrived. This is it's an ever-changing experience, which is the creative part of the craft. So it's always about learning and being open to grow. And then secondly is being willing to put in that extra effort to be available for your client. Client-centeredness is going to gain you more clients and you're going to have barbers that are in the fad. They're going to be super dope and they're going to be fad barbers, and you'll see them. They'll be very successful. But in order for anyone to be long-term, and if you want to create depth in a strategic lifestyle based in this barbering, you gotta really love and appreciate the craft and the people that you work with. And also, first and foremost, you got to be that welcoming person to that client, whether they're your client or anyone. So that's another thing, is touch on every person you meet. Because every person you meet could be that next person that is that person, like my friend Roman who stood behind me. It could be that next person like Travis who gave me an opportunity at the barbershop when no one else would hire me. It could be that next person like Jackie Star Iced Out Barber who shows up at your barbershop and pours into you. And then you have this vision, you know, to be something more than what you are. And then obviously it's the type of people and energy you surround yourself with. So, you know, if you put people that are sucking your energy and you're negative and all that, you're going to be around that negativity. So always having people like me, I had my wife and my family and other barbers who were positive. Not all the barbers that were around us were positive. Like, we dealt with a whole lot of negativity too.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? But we had a team of 11 barbers. It goes, you know, you got everybody from Toner Tree Turner to Dylan the barber. You know, you got Jacob the barber, GTG. You got Ernesto. You got me. You got Travis, which was Big T. You got Yuri the barber. We can go on to Tony Seach.
Tony Turner.
You know, Jofer Tensorio. You know, I mean, we've got,
Joey Joe.
And we could just keep going on and on and on. You know, people that we worked with. Yeah. G Smitty still. And we've all been in that same cycle and circle together. And then it went on to the next generation, which is still continuing in different pockets. Forest Grove, Beaverton, Portland, Tigard. I mean, they're all over.
Yeah, no, 100%. And honestly, guys, like, obviously I think that the way barbering is moving, it's going in a direction where it's more kind of like, and obviously, I'm part of it too. But my desire is to one day, be like you, MTV, have a shop and not lose the culture, because in the barber industry, like, it just hits different when you're in a shop, bro. Mm-hmm. It hits different. You know what I mean?
So yeah, when you work by yourself, and Jacob can attest to this, it takes a certain type of person to work alone with those clients. And when you walk in circles every day, having the feed, like when we were feeding off of each other, we build each other up, and we used to battle each other too. It's like, oh, bro, we used to spin the chair and be like, is that faded or not? And you push yourselves. When you're alone, you have to chase that for yourself. You have to chase that edge or that education to raise yourself up. And I've worked long enough by myself early in the morning and late at night to know that I could work by myself, but that's why I can't leave the barbershop. I'm still cutting today, 3 days a week, 12-hour days. It's because I love the creativity part of it, but I love the community aspect that the barbershop brings to our communities.
Yeah, we can't lose that.
No.
We really can't lose that. You know what I mean? And man, yeah, thank you, Matthew, for your time, man. I mean, I guess to end the segment, you know what I mean? Obviously you give us, honestly, so much wisdom, so much game. But what is one thing, new barber and barber that's been in the game for a long time, what's one thing that you would leave him with? Some food for thought, Matthew. What's like a quote, so a quote, you know what I mean, that resonates in your heart and you think about, you know what I mean, that you could leave as a legacy to all these barbers.
I think we talked about it, is service is a posture of the heart. And so you have to find out what that means to you. Yeah. And how you're going to serve your community, not just through haircuts, but really practicing that we're not a servant, we're in the service industry. So how are you going to harness that and transpose that into good energy for you to be successful? And if you can do that and you can open your mind, your integrity will never be compromised.
That's dope. Anyways, guys, so if you're ever in the area, what location is this, MTV?
This is the South Hillsboro location. We're 20455 Southwest Tualatin Valley Highway. We appreciate it. We've got big things happening, and so it's exciting. And so if you ever get a chance, you don't got to get a haircut. You can always come in, because we like good energy and love. So if you're an up and coming barber, you're a new barber, don't think that barbers aren't approachable, because we love to be a part of this community. And that's, like he said, I've always been about, from the barber to the shed, from the barber to the garage, from the barber, I reach out to them constantly, and I want to uplift us all so we can continue to keep this a professional, safe atmosphere for families, but also for people to come and enjoy themselves for years to come.
Yeah, man. Well, there you go. And then you got a Tigard location too?
Yeah, Tigard location's 12963. It's Pacific Highway in Tigard. And then the third location is coming May 1st. So
there you go.
That'll be released. So stay tuned.
Also, man, if you can get your hands on some of Mateo's products, he just released a line. My clients love it. I personally love the sea salt spray. Yep. That thing hits me. Yep. The texture sprouter too as well. And then the beard oil, actually. I really like it, man. Yep. So, get your hands on. You sell it here? Can you come and purchase it?
Yeah, we have it online, Mateo's Premium, and then it's also locally. It's at 6 other barbershops in the Portland metro area. Oregon Barber Supply in Salem also has it. And we've got lines coming for the barbers, like me and Jacob were talking about early, is that we're not just doing a retail product for retail only. We're also bringing it for the barbers to use. So that way, because barbers sell product, but then they don't ever really get to use it unless they're using it as back bar. But we want stuff that barbers use every day. Yeah. So that way, we can keep it in the family and be for barbers by barbers.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways, thank you guys for your time, man.
Much love.
It's a blessing. God bless, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.